This is the Agorist Nexus podcast. I'm Brandon. I've got my great co-host Dag with me. How you doing, Dag?
I'm doing spectacular, dude. How you doing?
Hey, good, man. So before we get started with the Turkey's hyperinflation, I did want to mention that at Agorist Nexus we've got a lot of free, very, very useful information pertaining to agorism. We've got articles, podcasts, newsletters, all of the above. So definitely check that out. We've got some great agorist writers too. So yeah, please support us if you get a chance and donate.
But it's also a really excellent directory for agorist businesses. So if you have an agorist business, get it on there and help people find you.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple articles that I want to talk about, Dag, and let me see here. One of them was the one you gave me. It's a Forbes article. It says, let's talk about Turkey and the crypto rage against the machine. So what I found extremely interesting about this article was that they actually, does it mention this?
Yeah, this one talks a lot about they're sort of a couple things, highly cryptocurrency centric, but a couple things. One of which how the central bank in Turkey, which I'm to understand is the first central bank that's actually doing this. I know it's been talked about in other places, but is actually going to issue a crypto coin called Turcoin.
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like pretty much all governments want to go that route, including the U.S.
Yeah, I know there's definitely been talk about it, but actually because the currency is what did we say, something like lost like 30% of its value in like 24 hours, which they've been having issues for several years now with their currency. People are kind of looking for alternatives.
Absolutely. The article that I shared with you was an AEI article. It says, how low will Turkish currency go? And in that article, it says that the lira, Turkey's currency, lost 30% of its value in 24 hours. And I mean, that's extreme hyperinflation. I mean, if you can imagine, let's say you get paid, I don't know how much you'd make, but let's say you got paid $300, well, or $1,000, you get, you're losing $100, right? Just within, well, wait, 30%. You're losing $300 in of the $1,000 that you made within that 24-hour time period, and that's just mind numbing right there.
Yeah, definitely. It's funny. It's like when like you're young and you're like, oh, these other countries, and they, their money isn't worth as much. So you go over there with a nickel and you're rich, and it's really hard to like understand like actually what that means, But yeah, when you make that kind of dough and it just disappears that quickly. I mean, what are you even really working for? So the best solution is definitely to try and find an alternative.
Yeah, and I think we'd be foolish. We'd be foolish just to say, okay, well, it's happening right now in Turkey, but it's been happening in like Argentina, Venezuela, Zimbabwe. So, and the U.S. and pretty much all over the world, they're doing the same things that these other countries are doing. So, I just, for people to say that it can't happen here, I just think that's extremely foolish to believe, and I think people should really start protecting themselves and get out of the U.S. dollar, whatever currency that they're using, for sure.
Yeah, definitely as much as possible. And it's like the dollar will collapse, like it will. I don't know when. I mean, I don't think it's gonna be tomorrow. It might be soon. To be honest, with the way that they have so much control over everything, I mean, it might still be a decade or two down the road, but it will happen, at some point. And I think that the United States is a little bit of a unique situation compared to a lot of these other countries too, because of how much, how much the tentacles of the government spread, all over the world. We've got things like the petrodollar. So they use that to keep some sort of demand for dollars. And the oil producing country that doesn't go along with that gets invaded and murdered and this and that and the other. So we really have a lot
that's
more.
That's just a coincidence, that's all coincidence.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm sure, but yeah, it is the kind of thing where the United States definitely is a unique situation compared to a lot of other countries. So what does that mean? I mean, I definitely don't think that means that they're going to be able to kick the can down the road forever, but it's one of those things that can be kind of hard to predict. There's some tricksters up there, and they're pretty skilled, unfortunately. But it's, even here, it's something like, what is it about? Oh, God only knows after this year what it's going to be, but it is about 2% per year inflation. But of course, that compounds. And I even just think when I was, younger, 15, 20 years ago, I used to have a job. I made $5.40 an hour, and it was enough to put gas in my truck and, buy a bag when I needed to and this and that. And, it was fine. What do you do with $5 these days? It's fucking nothing. And that wasn't even that long ago.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I'm old saying this, like an old guy, like, well, back in my day, I could buy, a candy bar for 25 cents, and I'm not even that old. And but my grandpa, would be like, oh, well, I could buy a candy bar for 5 cents back then. So it's just like I kind of feel like we're seeing this even within shorter time periods. We're going from a nickel to 25 cents, and then all of a sudden, now candy bars like what, 150, 175. So now we're seeing even greater. Yeah, we're seeing greater price increases within shorter time periods. So, but to hit on the fact that the United States is unique, yeah, absolutely. Not only do they use oil, use the dollar for trading oil, but there's also lots of countries that hold dollars just as reserves. So if the U.S. prints, you don't see the drastic price increases like you do, in Argentina. Their currency collapses like every 10 years or something crazy. So
yeah, and there's there's some other real world implications for all of us that the inflation that the Federal Reserve does. And basically one of the big ones is incentive to save. You can't just put money in a bank account and the interest might barely keep up with inflation, but you end up losing money. So it kind of forces people into doing things like the stock market, and which is just a casino. But basically, having to invest in the stock market, what am I going to do with this money? I have to do something with it, or I'm gonna lose it. So it causes a lot of malinvestment as well, which is really unfortunate. And gosh, if we could just have a sound money, where I could just put it under my mattress when I earn it, and that'd be fine. Like, I'd really love that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to be able to save dollars and have it be more valuable, so I could, purchase something even better later on. But to touch on that, I think what's funny is that even the Federal Reserve says, oh, well, we just have a modest 5% inflation every single year, and that's what the Federal Reserve says. The Federal Reserve says we have 5% inflation every year, and if they're saying it, that it's even more. That if they're saying 5%, it's even more than that. And most bank accounts, it's hard to even get 1% interest rate on your money, in a savings account. So if you're putting money in a savings account, you're losing at least, from, I think it's more like you're losing, probably 10% a year, but who knows? But with what they're saying, when you put money in a savings account, you're losing 4% a year, So we should just call it a de-savings account, pretty much. And,
right.
If we're going to be honest, so.
Well, it's funny because I'm to understand that one of the main purposes of that the Federal Reserve used as a selling point to will themselves into existence was that they were to stabilize prices, stabilize the boom bust business cycle and things like that. And if there's been a lot more, there's been more financial turmoil, more booms and busts since they came into being. But it's just funny that they say that they're to stabilize prices and whatnot, yet, like you said, by their own admission, they inflate the currency by a certain percentage every year. So they themselves are, purposefully destabilizing the price of currency, which of course is, the currency exchange rates are priced. So it's just funny that, by their own admission, that's not really what they're doing.
Yeah, that's a funny point. But even with what they say, they disprove, their whole purpose. That's funny.
Right.
So
What's
let's
to be
go
done
back
then?
to
What do we?
let's go back to Turkey here. So with what you were saying earlier, we were talking off mic, was that Turkey has like in this article, this Forbes article, Turkey's got a younger population. They were starting to get into crypto years ago. I just think with them losing 30%, the with them losing 30%, it's funny. I think the day that happened, gold and silver like skyrocketed because a lot of them were trying to get out of the lira, but I also see a lot of them trying to get into crypto because a lot of them already use it at markets. They're trying to find this. What market did I say? Like the Grand Bazaar, this ancient market in Istanbul.
Market, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, what I was reading was that it said something like 18% of the population already uses crypto, which or owns crypto, which is, I don't know what the rates are here, but I mean, I'd be surprised if it was less than 1%. It can't. I don't know many people who do it all, but
yeah, the U.S.
18% of people already hold it, and it's a younger population, so they can sort of get in technology a little bit quicker. And of course, Turkey's been having financial issues since probably a long time, but I guess really 2018 they had a lot of turmoil and stuff. So people have sort of been starting to get into this. And originally, like I guess in 2017, the government came out being very, very anti cryptocurrency, which, why wouldn't they be? It's harder to censor, harder to control, harder for them to get their fingers in whatever it is you're doing. But now they're actually coming out a little more for it, although I'm to assume that that's primarily to push their central bank cryptocurrency. But I guess they're also looking at transitioning some other government services into using things like Bitcoin and such. But a large portion of this population, and this is something that we've touched on in another podcast about crypto, which one of the reasons I really love it is that something like 30% of the population is unbanked. They don't have a bank account. So with a lot of these crypto, I guess you call it a crypto company, like just for example, I'm not promoting anybody, but like crypto.com or whatever, they have a debit card that you can get and you can use anywhere that accepts, Visa, MasterCard, etc. So a lot of these people who can't have a bank account are getting one of these debit cards and then just using cryptocurrency, everyday purchases, and they don't have to have a bank account or anything. And that's really one of the big things I really like about crypto in itself is that, you can just exit the banking industry to a large degree. Yes, if you're using a card that's MasterCard or Visa, obviously they're getting transaction fees and stuff, but you don't have to have a bank account with Bank of America or, whoever you use. So that's really cool and that's really awesome. And it's really sort of opening up a lot of doors for these folks. And a lot of them are very technologically inclined. Again, like you said, it's a younger population. A huge portion of them already use smartphones. So, I mean, they're already, it's cool. It looks like they're already sort of working with this transition. So even if their currency is collapsing, I don't know if I want to go as far as say they're going to be just fine, but they're making it work as best they can, which I think is really promising.
Yeah, that's really cool that Turkey has that younger population that's willing to, explore and accept new ideas and new technology. It says that the median age is 31.5 years. So, yeah, really young population over there in Turkey. And really cool that you can go to the Grand Bazaar. It says that at the Grand Bazaar, that crypto is just as easily to access there as gold and cash.
Well, I mean, yeah, and in a lot of ways, it's easier to accept, like crypto than it is even just a regular credit card. Just you don't need scanners and all this other equipment. It's just, hey, we both have a smartphone. Boop, boop, boop. There we go.
You don't have to show ID. I love it. I mean, a lot of people are against crypto, but I just think it's you see the difference. You see these cryptocurrencies gaining in value every single year, and you see whatever it doesn't matter what currency it is. Whatever currency that you have, fiat wise, you see it lose tremendous amounts of value every single year. And like the candy bar, like what we mentioned earlier, but.
Well, especially recently, a lot of cryptos have been getting, a bit pricier, and I catch myself being like, oh man, it went up another, 5%. Like I should have bought some last week. And I'm like, well, part of me is like, why should I even buy any now then? I'm like, no, because it's gonna go up in value. It doesn't matter that it's already gone up and you might have missed, some gains or whatever. It's, no, buy it, like convert your dough to it because it's gonna keep going up. And it's, I think we're seeing that even over here right now.
Yeah, and I think when we get into crypto, we should have this mindset of, not exactly looking at price. I mean, price is important, but I mean, you should have this mindset of, okay, I'm going to stock away a certain amount every single month, kind of like a savings account. That's how you save, right? And you're saving like real money. And I actually wrote an article on the Nexus, saying why crypto is money. And I think the article is called Properties of Money and Cryptocurrency. You guys can check that out.
Good article. Yeah.
Oh, you read it, Doug?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I appreciate that. But I mean, cryptocurrency has all these same all these properties of what makes money. And I think the only thing is that we're kind of missing is that, and I say kind of because there's a lot of places that actually use it as a medium of exchange. It just kind of depends on which crypto, but medium of exchange is probably the most important property. If something becomes a medium of exchange and it has all the other properties, I mean, that is going to be, money. But the thing is that not all cryptos are money, right? So you have to really delve and do your research. And that's kind of why I like Bitcoin Cash so much, because it seems like the biggest medium of exchange because it has the most brick and mortar merchant adoption in the world. So, you can go to Japan or Panama or there's a crypto ATM in Hong Kong that accepts Bitcoin Cash, but they won't even, this crypto ATM doesn't even sell or buy the regular Bitcoin just because the transaction fees are so high. So when you see something like that and you see one of these properties of money, a medium of exchange, and you see Bitcoin lose this property, the BTC version, that's a real eye opener for me. So I mean, yeah, could you see nice gains off Bitcoin in the future? Absolutely, but I'm not, hating on the project. I hope that the project does really well in the future. But I think that to find true money, that we have to try to find, what is going to be a medium of exchange. And, with what I've seen from the Bitcoin Cash community, unlike almost every other community out there, is that they've got all these people going out there saying, hey, you're a merchant, check out Bitcoin Cash, for XYZ, fast transactions. It's got so many apps you can get it on. I'm not trying to shill the project, but I just see, I like the project. So I'm, because I see.
If they want to sponsor us, they're more than welcome. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, if there's a big Bitcoin Cash guy that wants to sponsor us,
Well, another thing that you mentioned in that article too is fungibility, and that's one of the reasons that we really like the privacy coin, is because that can be one of the issues with the regular Bitcoin as well, is it's so traceable.
Yeah, and a lot of people say, well, fungible, but I think the reason why privacy is so important, privacy and fungibility kind of go hand in hand because if it's not private, and let's say like one of your Bitcoins was used for like some red market type activity, like human trafficking or something, all of a sudden the feds or whoever can say, hey, like, we believe that you're doing all these bad things because it's like, no, I'm not trying to contribute to anything. It's just, the dollar went around into circulation and I've got this dollar and I guess it was used for something bad a while ago, but, so I think
you're not supposed to have to prove your innocence, but in a situation like that, it's kind of hard to.
Right, but that's why privacy is so important. So that even if it was used for something bad. Because I mean, let's face it, if it's money, it's going to be, somebody's going to want to use it for uh, somebody's going to use it for something bad regardless. But
happens with the dollar every day.
Yeah, and the dollar is the biggest currency used for all these criminal activities. So, yeah, what else did we want to touch on Turkey about? I just find this so fascinating because we're seeing it in more and more countries now, and I feel like this is kind of the path that we're on, especially with the U.S. printing trillions upon trillions for all these stimulus packages, these COVID aid programs and such.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if 2020 hadn't happened like it did, like we'd still be having this basically exact same conversation. But the fact that 2020 is rolling out the way that it is, I think is really putting a bit more throttle on what's going on here, throwing a little more gas on the fire, if you will. Really sort of making this. I think it's being a very, it's much more apparent now that it's going to have. I mean, what was it? A few months ago, the national debt was like 23 trillion, 20 high. And I think I heard the other day, I could check the debt clock if I had the inclination, but I think it said something like 27, 28 trillion all of a sudden because they just, willed so much of it into existence here this year. And it's really terrifying. And I mean, I think you can just look at things like the prices of gold, silver, and crypto coins and stuff like that here in the last few weeks, couple months, where they've been heading. That really shows that a lot of people are losing confidence in it. Because of course you have to remember the prices of these things are determined based on how people are buying or selling. So it's based on the actions of people. But we're getting to the point with technology, this stuff is getting usable. And so it's really somewhere that I've really been getting to. I'm pretty new to crypto, personally. So while you're out there, Brandon here is a little more of an OG in it than I am. As he'll attest, as he's been helping me get the hang of this stuff. But it's really cool, man. If anybody out there is intimidated to get into it, like don't be, because I was very intimidating. I'm not very intimidated. I'm not very computer savvy. I was terrified about messing something up and losing dough. But like get into it. Here's what I did, y'all. On a weekend I had some time. I bought like $100 of some random cryptos through a few different methods just to sort of get the feel of it. Transferred them between a couple wallets, did some exchanges, this and that. Then worst case, I was out $100. But now I feel a lot more confident, and I'm actually like, yeah, sure, I can handle it. So it's definitely something that's worth spending a little bit of time to get into for sure. And then there is so many ways you can actually make it usable. Again, like we were talking about the crypto debit cards and stuff as well. So it's definitely something that's doable. I was really stoked with this whole Turkey thing, and I was looking into it, and that was actually what I was looking up. I was like, okay, how is cryptocurrency playing into this? Because if their dollar is, or their lira or whatever is working on collapsing, then they're going to have some sort of alternative. And I was so thrilled to come across these articles saying how many people are transitioning and how it seems like it is going to be something that's relatively smooth. And I think we even heard something about this with Venezuela here in the last couple of years. I think that they were using Dash, if I do recall.
Yeah, their two most used cryptos are Dash and Bitcoin Cash for sure.
Yeah. And I know that in a lot of places, Dash is pretty popular as something. Like I think in New Hampshire, a lot of people use a Dash at like bars, restaurants, things like that. So that's maybe another one that's kind of popular, just easy to use as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at this from like because I kind of have a background in stocks, so but just looking at this from a financial standpoint, it's like, okay, why do I want to be a bag holder for the U.S. government? Like, if you've got all these stocks, right, and they increase their outstanding share count, okay, by like millions, what they're doing is if a company were to do this, they would be diluting that stock, and that stock price would fall because they're increasing the supply, but the demand is staying the same. So when you increase supply but the demand stays the same, the price goes down. So basic economics, and it's like, why do I want to be this bag holder for this irresponsible extortionist organization. And I think that's something that we really have to. Now, in terms of crypto, if you're something I wanted to touch on when you were talking, Dag, was, when you get into crypto, start off $5. Send yourself, send another wallet, open up another wallet, send yourself like 5 cents before you start, sending hundreds. That way, if you do mess up or something, you're just losing 5 cents. And check your wallet address, double check it. The really long ones, I just kind of check the first 6 and the last 6, and I verify it before I send. And you can get most of these cryptos anonymously. There's like local Monero, local.monero or whatever, and local.bitcoin cash, where you can pick up these cryptos from anonymous sources and not have some kind of KYC crypto exchange say, hey, hey feds, this person X bought such and such and didn't declare taxes or whatever. You don't have that with these local bitcoin.com, which does like Bitcoin Cash, and there's a Monero one that I used. Let me get the exact. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, Dag, but let me get the Monero one.
Yeah, it's funny. Touch back to what I was saying about like the price increases and stuff on it. When I was first playing around with it, and I bought some off of one of the local exchanges for some Bitcoin Cash. I think the market price for it was like $222 for the Bitcoin Cash. And I was, of course, people when they're selling it, they mark it up a little bit. So I think I was buying it for like $250 or something like that. And I was like, oh man, what a bummer, like I'm paying this for it. And now, like, I don't know what is this moment, but it's been well over 300, this last week. And I'm like, shoot, even buying it at what was a markup like a month ago, I still had, like gain, on it. So I was like, oh man, that's a trip. So again, like, don't like, just get you some. But it's the exchanges or the local exchanges, they can be, depending on how you want to pay for it, they could be you got to find somebody who's willing to accept your however you want to pay. You may know the answer to this. I think that, and of course like the IRS does whatever it wants, but I think isn't like $20,000 like the number, like if you buy $20,000 worth of crypto in a year, like they like report it to the IRS. Is that accurate?
In terms of transferring cash around?
I think like so let's say you go to like Binance or Coinbase or whatever. Yeah, they have to know your customer or whatever. But I think once you hit the point of where if you buy $20,000 worth of crypto through an exchange like that,
they flag you
automatically. Yeah, they automatically report it to the IRS. So if you are planning on picking some up, if you can go out and buy 20,000, hey, you're in a better position than I am. But be aware, that you could get on the radar of the IRS, because yes, you're supposed to pay, taxes on your gains on crypto, just like it's a stock or similar to a stock, which I'm not sure what capital gains tax is, 15% or something. But you are supposed to pay that. So if if you're going to be buying a lot, then definitely look into doing some of the local exchanges. You can stay a little more under the radar.
Yeah, and I know that $9,000, like $9,000 or $10,000, is what they flag cash wise. So like, if I were to transfer 10 grand from like me to you, then it would automatically be flagged and on the radar of the IRS.
I think it's cumulative over the year for these exchanges. If you it's like 20 grand cumulative over the course of a year, so it's not just one exchange. Then I think they put it to the IRS. IRS probably watches you to see what you're going to do with it. If you're going to sell it and make money.
Right.
Then I wonder, like, the enforcement, like if you like, how do they know that you sold it? I know you didn't just transfer to a wallet. I guess if you cash it out and get cash, I don't know. It's confusing.
Yeah. I just that's why I'm waiting. Like, I'm anxiously waiting for the day where it's like I don't even want to cash it out. Like, I just want to keep it the way it is because it's more valuable this way than it is to, I'm just kind of waiting for that day, and that way you don't have to worry about. Yeah, exactly. That way you don't have to worry about, okay, well, I do need some cash reserves to pay for certain things. instead you're like, okay, I'm just going to use crypto because everybody accepts it now.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But yeah, these local Bitcoin places are a great place to get them, and then you can find other decentralized exchanges like Trade Ogre, and there's a couple others like Vite and Vitex or so I don't recall the exact names, but yeah, there's all kinds of Bisq is another one. There's all kinds of decentralized exchanges that you can trade on where people won't. These exchanges are just basically peer to peer, and people won't know that it's you're the one trading. So now, in terms of cash, the decentralized exchanges won't cash you out, but it's a great way to trade for other cryptos.
Do you have anything else on Turkey, or?
Yeah, do we? Let's see.
Admittedly, I didn't do a ton of research on the Turkey situation, so. But I was just like, I was really, really thrilled to see that actually crypto stuff was popping up. I had a feeling.
I am so glad that you sent me that Turkey article too. I had no idea. I just heard about them sending that the lira lost 30% value in one day. I mean, that's hyperinflation. I don't know what the definition of hyperinflation is, but in my view, if you get paid one day and it's $1,000, and then the next day you lose $300 $300 worth of value on that one paycheck, that to me is like, okay, there's a huge problem here, and it's controlled by the government. So of course, governments aren't going to be responsible at all. And I don't want to just shill crypto. I think gold and silver is a great way to kind of hedge and protect yourself from these irresponsible extortionists as well. And let me see if there's anything else interesting in this article. I think another reason why the AEI article, I think another reason why a lot of the population of Turkey got into these cryptos a couple of years back was because they remember rapid devaluations in the lira, and it states here that between 1923 and 2005. So I think it's another thing too is that the U.S. has really never had a currency collapse, so it's hard for all of these people to imagine it ever happening to us, But a lot of these other countries, like Mexico, the Mexican peso used to be able to buy a lot more. Now, Americans kind of joke and say it's funny money. I can go down there with, I can buy a whole entire kick-ass meal for like $5-6. But yeah, I think all these other places are like, they're more used to rapid devaluations in the currency.
Well, yeah, and like we've had obviously, recessions or of course a depression. Probably gonna have another one coming up here, but that's a different situation than like a currency collapse. It's like it's one thing to be like, there's not really any jobs, and be like, oh, all this money I have is just suddenly worthless. Like in a depression or a recession, like money has a lot of value. People want it, people need it, but in a situation where you have the inflation, it's just your money just isn't worth anything. It's a very different scenario, and unfortunately, I think most Americans are really uneducated on not just finances, but like monetary theory. And hey, not talking shit up for a couple of years ago, so was I. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very scary situation for a lot of people, and I feel for a lot of people who have spent their lives, doing what they thought was responsible, working hard, putting their money in these different places, their 401ks or buying annuities or even like real estate stuff like that, and it really sucks. And sometimes that can just be, I don't know if taken away is the right word, but it can just vanish. Just because of, again, like you said, these decisions by these extortionists up on high. Have you ever read Creature from Jekyll Island?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the books that got me into. Well, I've been a libertarian since 2002, but what really caught my eye was Ron Paul had said something about the Federal Reserve, and I was like, what? And I think one of the books that he recommended, I can't remember who recommended it. I think it was Ron Paul who recommended that if you really want to learn about our financial system, that G. Edward Griffin wrote a great book about it called Creature Jekyll Island, and that's what got me into it. And I was always real into like finance and stocks and stuff. But yeah. Sorry, I kind of veered off. What were you gonna say about it?
No, I haven't read it, so I really want to. It's on my list, but of course, it's for anybody who doesn't know, it's the story of how the Federal Reserve kind of came into being, and it's kind of the gist is like it wasn't it's not people think it's like a government organization. I guess in some facets, it could be, but it was a bunch of private bankers, and of course, they've been trying to do a central bank since the beginning of the United States of America. But it was the 1913 or whatever, and a bunch of bankers secretly met at Jekyll Island to sort of hash out how they're going to do this Federal Reserve thing. So it's just really good in that regard. And it's funny because I have family members who actually brought me to Liberty. That was the turning point for some of them, was when they read Creature from Jekyll Island. That sort of turned them into anarchists. Was being like, oh, wait a minute, this is all bullshit. So it's definitely on my list for sure. But yeah, it's definitely something for anybody who wants to learn about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great book, and I kind of go into like a little bit about how about how they create money and put it into existence in that Properties of Money and Cryptocurrency article. But if you like the Creature Jekyll Island, like in my opinion, that's like a must read for any liberty lover, in my opinion. And it's funny. The title says Creature Jekyll Island, and at first you think it's like, what am I reading? Is this like a horror?
It sounds like fiction.
Yeah. But side note here. This next stimulus package that they're talking about, they want to do a second stimulus. I just Googled it on August 4th on this Forbes article. They're saying they want it to be $3.4 trillion. And the thing too is that when you think of money, like when you think of like the amounts that they're printing and throwing into circulation, it's hard for people to imagine like how much a trillion is, right? And what I like to do is, okay, back when the debt was $23 trillion, I was reading an article. Yeah, the good old days. I was reading an article that said if you just took 23 trillion $1 bills and you just kept stacking them, that it would go all the way to Mars. I mean, that's how much 23 trillion is. And Mars, I mean, Mars.
It's a distance.
Yeah, dude, it's quite a distance. And I forget like which one. Like if you stacked like a $1 billion, it would go to like something. But if you stack 23 trillion, you're going all the way to Mars. And I think the quickest we can get to Mars is like 6 months. That's the quickest. So just to kind of put these huge dollar amounts into perspective, it's something else for sure. And this next stimulus package is going to be 3.4 trillion. So yeah,
when you get your dough, buy some crypto, buy some silver.
Yeah,
maybe a rifle or two.
Yeah, absolutely, guns for sure.
On that note.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you're good.
I was going to say, on that note, if y'all remember, we had a Control Pew on a few episodes ago talking about 3D printing and everything, and I got myself a printer like 2 weeks ago, and I have been like obsessed. It's so cool. So that is something else that would be very nice to spend your stimulus check on, is get yourself a little old 3D printer and get to work on that, because it's a lot of fun, y'all.
Oh yeah, I don't know if you could tell us like which one that you got, but
I got the Ender 3. It was they go on sale on Amazon like once a month. I got it for $206, man. Like if you would ask me like how much is a 3D printer supposed to cost, like, and cause I ask people this too, like how much do you think a 3D printer costs? And everybody says $900, $1,000, $1,200, which seems right, but no, $206. And I haven't printed anything super cool yet, like we're talking about on an episode, but it's pretty easy, dude. And everything's come out pretty cool. I printed some upgrades for the printer, some other little knick-knacky things. I printed some stuff that I use around the farm. I printed like some bulkhead fittings for chicken waterers. I printed a plastic wrench, which I know plastic wrench seems silly, but it's for plastic fittings for, again, chicken waterers. It's just amazing that you can just conjure things out of thin air. I'm not driving to the store to get it. I'm not paying taxes on it. I try to be self-sufficient, so it's kind of really cool to be more self-sufficient by having something like this. There's millions of prints online. They're just really cool. So definitely get on it. You can also print yourself some freedom with it. So.
Nice, Dag. That's awesome, man. Yeah, self-sustainability is very cool, very important. But yeah, I just, and it's this whole currency disaster. It's just, I don't want it to happen. It's just the way that it's going. It's kind of inevitable, and a lot of people are going to be hurt from it. And I think that's what really gets me the most is that these governments are being so irresponsible that and most of the trillions are going to their friends, but they're being so irresponsible
right,
that they're hurting the population that they're quote unquote supposed to serve. But yeah, it's it's frustrating situation. It to me it's like, why I kind of wish I was born in a different time period, because this is going to be a historical, the dollar collapsing is going to be a historical event unlike anything the world has ever seen before. All these other currencies are tied to the dollar too, so it's not just going to be the U.S. that hurts. I think the U.S. is going to take the brunt force of it, but the dollar collapsing is going to be in movies everywhere, and the excuse is going to be COVID, and it's going to be talked about. This is what's going to be talked about. The 2008 depression is just a blip. What's really going to be talked about throughout history is this, like the we'll, one day hopefully we'll grow old and say, yeah, the 2008 depression or recession or whatever, and they'll be like, what's that?
Yeah.
He's going to care about that one. But yeah, the one that's coming is going to be the one that's going to be in movies everywhere. It's going to be talked about. It's going to be, a global event, unfortunately. And, it's not something that you want to live through, but we can't, there's a silver lining. And, I guess looking at it from a financial standpoint, even in bear markets, you can make money. You can make money in bull runs, but you can also make money in bear markets as well. So there's a silver lining there, and for me, the safest places are going to be in gold, silver, and crypto, and that's where the masses are going to go into, and they're not going to be able to get there quick enough. So I think that if you're in these assets before the masses, before the mass exodus of the dollar, that you'll definitely benefit and more than definitely benefit somehow from it. So.
Yeah, agreed. And it's still, especially with crypto and stuff, it's still a little new, so there is a bit more of a learning curve. It's not what is it everybody says. When it gets so easy that grandma can use it. It's not quite there yet, but there's a big payoff if you get
into it before
early,
right?
Yeah, before it gets that easy. So even I'm like, I feel like I don't own enough of it. But it's like. But hey, man, whatever you can do, baby steps, get in on it, do what you can. That's the best we can do. I mean, so much of this stuff is so out of our control, especially as agorists. We don't believe in political action. So, it's like, it doesn't matter if I vote, who I vote for, or whatever. It just doesn't matter. It's not going to change any of this. It's the stuff that's set by people. It's out of my control, But the things that I can control is how I prepare for this, Do things like, if you can become more self-sufficient, get out of the city. I mean, that's my personal opinion. Get the heck out of the city, man. I don't think that things are going to be very good in the city if and when this does happen, you really lose a lot of ability to be more self-sufficient when you're in the city. So, if you can get a little piece of land somewhere, learn to grow a garden, and just try and prepare as best you can. If you can, whenever you can get out of fiat currency and get into something else, something that's a little more tangible, I think it's a better way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there anything else you wanted to cover, Jack? Or
no, man. I think we had a good night.
Yeah, I thought so too. I hope everybody has a great life and prosperous future. And unfortunately, government's not helping us with that. But I do feel like we can kind of go against the problems that they're creating, and So on that note, stay safe. Gorse Next is out.